This is part 8 of my do-it-yourself 3D printed scale Bally pinball machine. It is important to ensure that all necessary holes are present in the playfield and that any unnecessary ones are removed before applying the overlay. Therefore, some minor tasks on the playfield must still be completed, as additional holes are required for these components. Unfortunately, the hole for this light bulb is too small. I will expand it at a later point in time. Since the gap between the flippers appears to be slightly too wide, I'm adding a post to occasionally help save the ball. The disassembly of all components and assemblies, followed by painting, is a frustrating milestone. I've been putting off this task for a long time. All unnecessary drill holes have been filled and must be leveled by sanding. Additionally, a few lamps are not perfectly aligned with the playfield surface. Therefore, the playfield needs to be sanded and repainted multiple times. For some lamps, a thick clear coat needs to be applied to better compensate for height differences. I use a ball to check the surface by gently rolling it over the area to see if the lamp is level with the playfield. If needed, I apply a thick layer with a brush. I'm using a polyurethane varnish that is typically intended for wooden floors. To make my scale Fathom pinball machine look really cool, I reworked and resized the original image. Preparing the artwork took a lot of effort and will not be covered here. To accurately position the cutouts for the lamps, I used the vector graphic I created for milling the Playfield, which is shown in the first video of this series. Also, I need a second copy of it to create the black border around each lamp. With the first vector graphic of the holes, a mask is created, which is then used to punch the holes into the image, so to speak. With the second vector graphic, the solid circles and arrow shapes are converted into black outlines with a width of 1.6 mm. This vector graphic is then precisely positioned over the image and grouped together with it. I'm checking the original image to add the labels to my graphic. Starting with the extra ball lamp. The font, Charleston, is the most similar to the one used for the Fathom pinball machine. This font is not included with Windows and must be installed manually. Since the text is being curved and a more visible black outline is needed, the spacing between the individual letters must be slightly increased. The Charleston font unfortunately doesn't support bold styling, so this effect needs to be created manually. In Inkscape, you can simulate a bold look by adding a thick stroke around the text object. Since the stroke function was used to make the text appear bolder, the frame now has to be created manually. To do this, the text is duplicated, colored black, and made bolder using the stroke function. It is then positioned exactly behind the originally created text. This font also does not include all characters, for example, a hyphen. Therefore, small rectangles are inserted as a substitute. Creating and precisely positioning the text elements took hours of work, but in the end, it was worth it. To test the overlay printout on paper, the lamps need to be lit. For this, the lamps, the lamp driver boards, and an Arduino Mega are wired together. For the lamp driver circuit boards, I'm using the MCP23017 expander. It is controlled via an I2C bus by the Arduino. The wiring is complete, and now everything is being powered. A small test program is running on the Arduino, which controls the lamps. Unfortunately, I overlooked a few lamps, and they now need to be wired afterwards. I had the overlay printed on paper at a print shop for now, as this is much cheaper than printing on foil. I'm using it to check whether all the cutouts for the lamps are correctly positioned. To prevent the overlay from slipping too easily, I weigh it down with thin plexiglass sheets, which helps align the printout more accurately. In general, all lamps match the overlay, but the printout is not perfectly to scale. It is 3 mm too long, although the width is correct. When placing the order for the foil print, I informed the print shop about the issue. The foil print was perfectly accurate in terms of dimensions. Applying the overlay to the playfield will be part of the next video. Many thanks for watching.